we got a problem. If Liz Truss is true to her word, and I don't think she necessarily is, but if she is, then she does in fact want us to pay to go to see the doctor, like the Americans have to. That's... I'm very worried. A lot of us can barely... At a time when people in this country can barely pay to heat and eat, they now want us to pay to go and be healthy. Or to go and check our health. Selfish fucking bastards. It's ridiculous. You got a Prime Minister that says he doesn't want to fucking... He's not going to do anything. He don't fucking care. Despite the fact so many times he said, oh, I care. Obviously he fucking doesn't. Rishi Sunak seems to be the most sensible of the two, but he's pandering to the far left, the far right of his party. You know, my beliefs as a shaman lead me to believe that everyone has the right to quality health. And, you know, this sort of attitude of, no, if you want to check your health, you pay for it. If you want a baby, then you gotta pay fucking 10 grand just to go into labour. And the way they're trying to get away with this is by saying, oh, we need to get around the scaremongering. Scaremongering coming from the same people who said about the fear blocking around Brexit. Well, most of what those people what that block of people said has come true. So these people are trying to take away healthcare and call it modernisation. That's not modernisation. That's not to say that the NHS doesn't need a reform. And a lot of people don't like to use those words, but it does need reform. But the way it needs reforming is not by more privatisation. Not at all. I have family that works in in NHS, and they can, you know, one of them works in the private sector, the other one who works for the NHS. So, and they, what are the response I get? I talk to paramedics and nurses, and they tell me the same thing. It's getting harder to do their job, and on behalf of the NHS, when the government policies make it more difficult, to which a lot of it is being handed out to the private sector contractors, and in the end, people if they can get hold of the money, are going to private health facilities, paying out their ass. people are forced, that are being, throughout the pandemic, people who are being forced to turn to the American solution because the Tories have broken our NHS, and yet they're trying to tell us that it's an antiquated system. That's the same bullshit that the private war, that they defend the private water of the private water companies that they fucking defend and subsidise. Yes, the NHS needs reform, and in my eye, that means you need to, one, for me the primary one is education. Like one of the reasons why that one of the reasons for the whole fucking Brexit bullshit was to say that we needed to stop foreigners coming over and stealing all our jobs. Well, how are you going to fill that gap in the workforce? You're going to force people on to benefit from benefits onto doing it? No. Make the foundation. Education is the foundation. Set up proper medical schools, properly well-funded medical schools, so that British people can get a good medical education. There are specific colleges for all sorts of things, but a lot of the universities are generalised. You do different subjects in these universities. Now, I get England is nowhere near, or Britain is nowhere near as large as America, but that doesn't stop us from being able to make universities that specialise in these foundation things for our society. Healthcare and education are foundations for our society. Foundations. And we're giving it over to the private sector because they promise that they can, they'll improve it. They've always promised that. Yet we are still in this situation, not because of Labour policies. We've had Tories in government for the last 12 years. Yes, Lib Dems were there for the first little bit, but, what power did they really have? And after time, they just backed Tories anyway. So, we'll see. What we have is the result of 12 years of Toryism that was always going to lead us to this point. It started with George Osborne and David Cameron, and the evidence is there to show when they came in, our economy was on the rise. Their policy decisions ruined it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are likely to be other contributing factors there. However, that does not negate the fact that their policies destroyed that rate of growth that Labour had managed to get going just after the financial crash of 2008-2009. And yet the lie that they propone still to this day is the reason that we needed austerity was because Labour left us in a bad position. They didn't. They actually didn't. But the amount of people that will believe this fucking lie. Like I said, I've got to get a proper desktop thing and work out the right programs so I can show you on camera properly. Or, on screen properly. But you can go and look for this yourself. without looking into, on sites that are in a fucking echo tunnel. The evidence is on unbiased sites and unbiased sources. Just go and look for it. These people are evil. Even if they... Okay, evil might be a strong word, but... taking away workers' rights. Why? Because they want the rich to have more money with less argument. And they're convincing us that that is the right way. Some of the population, they've been convincing this population that that is the right way. What I would like to know is why people keep believing these fucking idiots. I would actually love to know why. When I ask the right wing, by the way, what is the actual reason why you support these policies? And usually what I get are things based, are opinions based on other people's opinions, not on facts. That's why I'm centre-left. Not all the way on the left, not dead in the centre, not am I on the right, because I refuse, point blank refuse, to ignore the actual facts over ideology. In of itself, that possibly is an ideology, but it's a major flaw in our society, in our modern society, or in current society, where we believe the lies that are fed to us because it's convenient to do so. That's why I use the phrase dorkviska, dark wisdom. What that means specifically is wisdom that people need to hear and either don't hear it because they don't want to hear it, can't hear it because they don't get to hear it, or, want to hear it, but, have no facility to find it. It took me ages to find not just, other people that, other media sources that, gave information out, in a fact, not just a factual manner, but when they talked about it, their opinions were closer to mine. So yes, an echo chamber. However, it also took me just as long to find unbiased sources. Because the biased sources on either the left or the right are so loud and bright and visible that the dark wisdom, the dark knowledge, the facts that are kept in the dark, that need to be known, are hidden away. Shadowita means shadow wise man, shadow counsellor. It's not supposed to be pretentious, it's supposed to be in that sort of framework. It is also supposed to be in the same sort of framework as, in government. So you have the people in government, and in Parliament, on the opposition, you have shadow ministers, shadow wise men, shadow counsellors. That doesn't necessarily mean these people are wise, but they get the title nonetheless. My wisdom isn't necessarily mine. The wisdom that I propound isn't necessarily mine. And if it is known, if I know where that wisdom comes from, I will either tell you, I will try to show you, or I will try to put references in, links in, tags, where to look. It is a very scary position. You've got on many different fronts, the Tories are being more brazen than they've been in a long time. You've got them openly saying, just ignore Scotland. You've got them openly saying, oh, let's just break international law. Openly saying, oh, it's fine. Workers prefer to be in the office rather than at home. They don't like to be around their families all the time. I'm not saying they don't speak for some people, but they treat themselves as if they are the majority opinion. They might have got an 80-seat majority in the House of Commons, but it was based on a fucking lie. Wake up, people. It was. I'm not going to apologise for getting rah about this. And I will continue to propound this. In 2019, people voted on a lie. Well, several lies. They voted on the basis of they wanted Brexit done, and they believed a liar would get it done. That is the stupidity of our society now. The laziness of thinking. Call me arrogant, I don't give a fuck. I actually don't give a fuck anymore, because people are not using critical thinking. It's almost like they're refusing to use critical thinking. It's disgusting. Oh, I'd rather believe that person's opinion rather than the actual facts, because that person's opinion aligns with what I believe more than the actual facts. I don't care what you fucking believe. If the actual facts go against what you believe, perhaps you should reevaluate what you fucking believe. Dickhead. Again, I will not apologise. And to quote that new movement, enough is enough. Enough of the complacency, enough of the stupidity. All you have to do is actually listen to these people. And instead of treating them with apathy, just as you treat the pagans, how about you do something active and get these cunts out of power? Because they do not help you. Unless you have a bunch of money. If you have a fuckload of money, then you're their friend. Or they need to like you to be their friend. This is getting dark. Well, say dark. For most people, you'd understand it. It's dark. This is getting bleak. This is getting very blinding. To me, this is getting very light. To me, this is getting very loud and very bright. And things are about to explode. Get to a point where our society is going to explode on a certain level. I don't know what Starmer, if Starmer is a red Tory or not. What I do believe is that he'd be a lot better in power. He'd do a lot better than Boris fucking Johnson. Labour as a whole would do better than Boris fucking Johnson and the Tories. Lesser of two evils, unfortunately. And if you think the Lib Dems are going to get into power, have a laugh. And if you want them to get into power, have a laugh, because the majority of them are ex-fucking Tories, and the most of them their policies, half the time at least, are more receptive to Tories than they are to Labour members. It's very, whilst being centrist, they tend to, they have policies that either side can agree with. More often than not, you see ex-Tories in there. Facts. We need a government that will actually do something properly. We haven't had that in 70 years. As in properly good for the country. You could say Blair, okay. You could say Blair did, but what he was doing technically was repairing damage. Trying to. But since Clement Attlee, we've not had a great Prime Minister that actually wanted to do something for this country on a productive scale for our society. I will reiterate a point I made in an earlier video. In the pandemic, which were the policies that actually worked and saved people that we needed? They were more socialist sounding policies. That's one of the reasons why Rishi Sunak's been picked on so much. Those were the policies we needed. We still need them. But no, socialism's evil. Because the examples given are socialist societies ruled over by evil people. Or people that don't, are from a position of greed to begin with. So that argument is straw man. Let me put it to you this way. Mao, Stalin, pretty much all of the socialist leaders in Africa and in South America have all been from the, not necessarily the working class, but the criminal class. And when I say the criminal class, I mean they were criminals, they were criminally minded before they took power. Hitler, I could add into that, but unfortunately, he's on the right, not the left. So we're not talking about the right for the second, we're talking about the left. I don't want communism, because to me, communism's an absolute. I don't want. And evolution tells me that. Life history tells me that evolution abhors absolutism. Absolutism. It does. So that's why absolutely purely clear diamonds are so rare, and why it's more common to find impurities in gems. Because absolutism is abhorred, but in the majority part by evolution. Not and that's just it is just a metaphor. So don't get too serious with me on that. we need to take what we see in natural life and natural life history and also apply that, and this is the way I do it anyway, and apply it to the way we think socially. Or at least we need to do that a little bit more. This has been my little rant about what might be coming. And it does worry me a lot that people are just sitting there and taking it. Oh, it'll be fine, they won't do it, oh, they won't. They keep saying that, yet bit by bit they are breaking our system of healthcare. And we're asleep to it. I hope everyone has a good day. Have a good day. Oh, and by the way, people get confused why I'm using Norwegian or Icelandic. I'm learning both. I'm trying to write a book, and hello, little girlie. And the book that I'm trying to write, I'm trying to do it Tolkien style. So I'm trying to make my own languages, but learning other languages is the first way to do that. At least in his style. I'd like to adapt languages and make my own languages through that kind of evolution. And because learning, one of the easiest ways to learn a new language is to try and use it in daily speech. It's also in part to do with a celebration of my heritage. You know, I have Anglo-Saxon and Viking heritage through the Scottish parts of me, and Anglo-Saxon in the English parts of me. So it's Celtic, Anglo-Saxon, and Nordic. So to me, it's also a celebration of what built my of what built British culture. Good day, good dag, good day. There's barely any difference. Golden Dane. The Icelandic are a little bit more finicky with their language, but our language is related to theirs, especially in terms of grammar. I found it a lot easier to learn the Nordic languages than I have any of the Latin ones. I even found them easier to learn than German, and I found a lot of people I've spoken to in England, they tell me, German tends to be fairly easy to pick up, and Dutch fairly easy to pick up, but what gets taught most in schools, French and Spanish. Well, if you're going to do an introduction to languages from an early age, surely you want to start with something that's more closely related to English. Just saying. Especially when it comes to daily speech. But yeah, just a short expo. I know some people might get a bit confused. I am English, but I celebrate the different parts of my heritage, and that's through language. That's through my looks. That's through what I believe, and that also means that I celebrate our heritage, our shared heritage with the Western and Northern Germanic Europeans. So, again, have a good day. I hope everyone has a good day. This has been Shadow Eater, and this has been my Dark Wisdom. Dork Viska.